In this video, we're going to kind of pick back up with animals living within an area, some of that win and lose competition that we talked about in the last video. So when animals live close together, sometimes they have certain types of feeding relationships. One of the most common types of feeding relationships we think about in the wild is called predation. That's where one organism will capture and feed off of another. When you talk about predation, there's two vocabulary words that are going to pop up, and that is predator and prey. So predator is the active animal doing the killing and the eating. So you have the hawk, in this case, the bald eagle, capturing the fish. So the bald eagle is the predator. You have the spider and the fly, the spider being the predator, and then the crocodile and the turtle. Crocodile being the predator in that case. So prey is the one that's being killed or being eaten, and there is a fight for survival in a predator-prey relationship, and I already gave some examples. You can refer back to those pictures as well. Now ecologists are going to study these predator-prey relationships pretty carefully, and what they've noticed population-wise, if they look at the sizes, is that when a predator population increases, then the prey population will start to go down. But what's really interesting is when you have maybe a really good year, and so you have a lot of prey available, maybe deer for instance, then your wolf population, or the larger predator, the carnivore, their population is going to increase. And when their food supply starts to go down, guess what? Their numbers start to go down as well. There's less food for them to eat. So there are some cyclic changes when it comes to their population size, and you can see that again. Here's your herbivore, like the deer. Population goes up, predator population goes up. Prey population comes down. Predator population, not long after, will also start to come down. So we see that happening throughout years that we've been tracking different predator-prey population numbers. One of the other topics that's really important in ecology is symbiosis. And symbiosis is the relationship that two species have when they live close together. So these aren't feeding relationships necessarily, but there are three different types, and you're going to see examples. Many of them are not feeding off of each other. It's not predator-prey. We have commensalism, mutualism, and parasitism. So if we look at commensalism first, this is where one species benefits or is helped out, and the other organism is not being helped, but they're not being hurt either. So they're just kind of there. So one benefits, one, it's just there. This example right here, when cattle kick up the insects, the bugs that are in the grass, the egrets, the birds, can easily swoop down, and it's easy picking, easy food for them. So this is commensalism because the egrets are benefited by living close to the cattle. They get quick, easy food getting kicked up. But the cattle, they don't get hurt because the birds are there. They don't get harmed because the birds are there. They're just there. So that's commensalism. Whales and barnacles is another example. Barnacles would be these items right here. I know it looks like it would hurt. They are embedded into the little bit of the top layer of blubber, but whales have so much blubber, it does not hurt them. So the barnacles need the whales. As the whale passes through the water, swims through the water, the barnacles, they have like little leaflets that catch food that's in the water. So they benefit from living on the whale, but they don't hurt the whale. They don't help the whale. The whale isn't getting food from the barnacles. The barnacles are feeding themselves. So benefit for the barnacle, but it doesn't hurt or help the whale. So those would be commensalism. Mutualism, probably the most common example in nature would be insects with flowers. So the insect is benefiting because they're getting nectar or food, and the flower is benefiting because this is how their pollen gets transferred from plant to plant so that they can make seeds and regrow again next year. So mutualism is a win-win. Both species are benefiting. Again, flowers and insects are really common there. The third example was parasitism, and when we talk about parasitism, there are a few vocabulary words that we need to bring up, and that will be host and parasite. So parasitism is where one organism lives on or inside of another, And by doing that, it is damaging, it is harming the other organism. So the host is what's being lived on or being lived in. You've probably been a host to a parasite before. Whenever you get stung by a mosquito, for example, you are a host. You are providing blood, food for that mosquito. In this case, they're living on you for just a brief moment. And then we have the parasite, and that's the one that's benefiting, usually by getting somewhere to live if they live inside of you, or at least they're getting food, if nothing else. So usually, this usually brings up some creepy crawlies. People are like, oh yeah, parasites, of course we don't like them because they harm us. But parasites, their goal is to get food, maybe get a place to live. They don't actively try to kill their host. Sometimes that does happen, but they're not trying to do that. And if you think about what a parasite, they're benefiting here from having a place to live and from food. So if their host dies, then they may also die if they can't find another host. So their goal isn't to kill their host. Some examples: tapeworms, they would live inside of something, usually in the intestines. Fleas, ticks, and lice, those are all items that would just live on the outside of you. And this would be an example of some type of a worm, maybe not a tapeworm, but I thought this picture was cool. There are times or maybe you have animals or pets outside, if they're outside animals, sometimes they have to get dewormed, because if they have worms living in their intestines, it could do damage to the intestine itself, but normally it's pretty much starving your animal, because those worms will eat all the nutrients as it passes through the intestines, and that means that the animal, even though they're eating, aren't getting any nutrients from their food, and so they're starving to death is what it comes down to. I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of lice. I know that, when I was younger and in school, lice was really common, especially in elementary schools, more so than in the older grades. But lice is something that lives in your hair, on your scalp, and they're parasites. And then ticks. And at the time I'm making this video, it's springtime, and so ticks are really common and starting to be seen a lot more. But ticks feed off of, it could be your blood, it could be animal blood, whatever is available and close for them to jump up onto. This picture is disgusting, but it's cool because this is a tick that is gorged itself on blood. So you can see the size of this tick compared to this one. This one, if you were to kill it, or it would pop probably at this point because it's so stretched out, it would just explode blood. It's pretty filled up, whereas this tick doesn't really look like it's had anything to eat quite yet. So that's what ticks do, and that will be the end of our symbiosis video.